We do have someone coming forth in the north. Good morning. If you could state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Marr, M-A-R-R, and I'm here to put in a request that you not renew Mr. Bill Kockenmeister's contract. I gave a little handout to the attendant over here, which you all have. The first page of which talks about is the letter from Mr. Bill Kockenmeister stating that I can conduct a petition for reconsideration. This was the beginning of this fraud that he committed on me. It's called under color of law. As acting as a judicial type officer, he was not entitled to do this because the 15 days that was required by the hearing officer rules was exceeded by almost 2 years. So he didn't have the authority to do that, nor did he have the jurisdiction to do that because the case was at the Nevada Supreme Court. After I had filed a complaint against him with the Personnel Commission here in 2008, he issued this letter saying I could file this petition for reconsideration. After that meeting, he approached me and my SNA representative and my wife and I and told us that when we asked him if this was out of his jurisdiction because it was at the Nevada Supreme Court, he said, it doesn't matter, it's a different matter. And that's on page 2 here, which is an email I received from Mr. Vanacore, the SNEA representative. Since that time, I filed a petition for reconsideration, and lo and behold, he denied it because he said it's out of his jurisdiction. So it wasn't a different matter as he claimed to us in person, right outside the door of this office. I filed, and he told me I could refile a petition for reconsideration, continuing his fraud, and I did that. And then he denied it based upon a sticky note issued by the Deputy Attorney General Brian Stockton, which was unsigned, undated, referring to unidentified documents. What was it? 1 minute. Holy cow. Okay, I'm going to go right down to the end of it. It took him over 2.5 years in which to issue a decision on this petition for reconsideration, not timeliness at all. In my opinion, Mr. Kockenmeister does not possess the impartial judgment necessary to sit in judgment of others. And this commission and the personnel department, I'm sure, would like to keep things as clean as possible, and the best way to do that is to clean up this mess and not renew his contract. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another individual coming forth in the north for public comment. If you state your name for the record.
Sure.
And then you'll have 3 minutes also.
Thank you very much. My name's Ty Robin, that's Tyrovben. And people have been coming to this Personnel Commission meeting since 2008, including the Attorney General, Catherine Thayer, indicating that Bill Kockenmeister doesn't really, comply with the rules, the law. We have Mr. Kockenmeister sitting up here, and he's right back here, so he can possibly explain himself today about the bribe that Mr. Marr has been talking about. And we heard Mr. Kockenmeister said that he did bring up the bribe, and he brought up, there's 2 bribes, okay? So what we need to do is go back to bribe number 1, which is against Marr, where Mr. Kockenmeister made a deal with Glenn Marr to drop a complaint, okay, in order for this reconsideration to happen. Well, that is a bribe. The bribe doesn't have to be money, okay? The bribe is a judicial officer doing something in return for something. And Mr. Kockenmeister, he did that. He's right back here. If he denies it, he can come up here and deny it. But at this point, that's a fact. The evidence is on the record. So you can do something about it. We've asked you to investigate it, and now we're asking you to not renew his contract. Clean up the act. The other thing is that it took, my understanding is, 1.5 years for Mr. Kockenmeister to put that decision out on the reconsideration. That's well beyond the 30 days. That's a very important thing here to Commissioner Reed, which we all respect. So there's a lot of candidates on the list, and Mr. Kockenmeister is making a career out of this thing. It's time for a change. I noticed that there's a change with the new Attorney General on the bench here and a new director. So it's nice to see some new faces, and we hope you make the right decision, and if you don't, the contract has to go to the Board of Examiners, as you know, with the Attorney General and the Governor. So if you do continue his contract, we'll be at that meeting, okay, to stress that this contract is not renewed, okay? And I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we have another individual coming forth in the north for public comment.
Good morning. My name is William Pierce, last name of P-I-E-R-C-E, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Bill Kockenmeister. 3 minutes, I'm going to try to paint you a quick picture. I was part of the investigation with Glenn Moore with his case. I was on the federal government side, and after we went through, did our initial investigation, when we first went into the state investigation, probably the first 20 minutes of our introduction, part of the state side was, we're here to remove 2 individuals from duty. Wasn't professionally said like that, it was said in a different respect. At that point in time, I responded back to say, we need, we're here to do fact-finding and gathering information. So we went on, we conducted our investigation, and what took place after that was that our findings were, disciplinary. At that point in time, later on, after the state had taken it back, went through the judicial committee hearing process, that we learned that Glenn and another individual, the other individual in it took a retirement and left. Glenn decided to stay and fight for his, he was victimized in what took place as far as what we're concerned. I retired back in '06, and it's kind of been eating at me ever since to find out that this has been going on for such a long time. It was a travesty. As far as Glenn goes, he was an air attack route pilot for the Nevada Division of Forestry. 1 minute, hurry. And done an exceptional job. I was in oversight of him several times in an aerial platform where I supervised him as a rotor wing pilot. Done an exceptional job, and all my dealings with him was that he was an exceptional employee for the state. His lifeline went out to Bill as a hearing officer, and that was his lifeline to say, hey, let's gather the facts, take a look at this, and it's been, that was, 7 years that this has been going on, and he's been out of work, is virtually without a lifeline, and it's a real travesty. So when you throw out the lifeline to somebody as a hearing officer, I would think that, with hearing the other folks that was here today, they're hearing officers, I commend them for what they said and some of the things for the professionalism that they have and taking a personal interest in the folks that they're working for. Because when you're out there on that side, it's important to have somebody have your back. And I appreciate the time here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals coming forth in the north for public comment? Seeing none, commissioners in the south, are there any individuals coming forth for public comment?
None.
Okay. Thank you. Before we entertain a motion, I'd like to have a discussion about the hearing officer candidates that interviewed before us today. And based upon the criteria that was put before the commission to consider in terms of selecting a hearing officer, I'd like the commissioners to be able to share during the meeting their thoughts about, in essence, who they would recommend to either continue as a hearing officer or be appointed as a hearing officer. And I'll be willing to step out first, and then we'll have a discussion about some of the candidates, and then I'll entertain a motion. So, in terms of the interviews conducted and looking at the hearing officer statistics that were put together by the Division of Human Resources Management, the administrative law experience, personnel disciplinary matters, the surveys that were done, my list is as follows. In the north, I would recommend for consideration by the commissioners Cafferata, Cockrell, Crowley, Kockenmeister, Walther. Now you notice I have less than 6. In the south, I would recommend Allen, Pulliam, and Reed, and then also to add to the list, which is also only 5 on the other side, is Lambley and Lang. So those are some of my considerations when I looked at the qualifications and the data in front of the commissioners in the interviews from today. Commissioner Reed?
Well, I did a little differently, but in the north I have 10s, which I consider my highest grade. That would be for Cafferata, Cockrell, Crowley, Kockenmeister, Lambroli, and Levitt. In the south I have Hussey, Pulliman, Reed, and Winter, and then I would also recommend that people that have asterisks that would serve in either. For the south, I would prefer Egghart and Greiner.
I need to clarify that Winter was on my list from the south too. I forgot to write her down on my list, but she's off from the south to help the commissioners in creating a motion. Commissioner Bruce, are you,
Yes,
okay.
for the north, I would recommend consideration for Cafferata, Cockrell, Crowley, Grenier, Kockenmeister, and Levitt. For the south, I would recommend Allen, Hussey, Pulliam, Reed, Winter, and then also for the south, Lamboli.
Thank you, Commissioner Bruce.
You bet.
I believe the commissioners in the south need a couple minutes to finish their notes.
Madam Chair. Chairman Malger and I believed in the South that we would like to recommend Allen, Hussey, Pulliam, Reed, Winter for the South, and also Lamboli, who's in the North, but for the South, as our recommendations. In terms of the North, we would recommend Cafferata, Cockrell, Crowley, Greiner, and Lamboli again, and Walther.
Okay, we have a number of names in front of us. We can choose to discuss it in a little more detail, or if one of the commissioners would like to go ahead and make a motion, I will consider a motion also at this time. One at a time. It looks like we're going to entertain the particular names one at a time. So, okay, this is, thank you, Commissioner Reed.
I move to nominate for continuation as Commissioner, Hearing Officer Patricia D. Caffarella.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reed and seconded by Commissioner Sanchez that the commission approve the reappointment of Patricia Caffarata as a hearing officer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
It appears that that's unanimous, all yeas, so she is reappointed. Congratulations, Ms. Caffarata. Okay, continuing on with the North hearing officers. Commissioner Reed.
I would move to nominate Charles P. Cockrell as hearing officer from the North.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reed and seconded by Commissioner Sanchez that the commission approve the reappointment of Charles Cockrell as a hearing officer for the state of Nevada. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Cockrell.
Thank you very much.
Continuing on, Mr. Reed.
Martin G. Crowley for hearing officer from the North.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the commission approve the reappointment of Martin Crowley as a hearing officer for the state of Nevada. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Crowley.
Thank you.
Continuing on, Mr. Reed, you have another motion?
I would move the approval of Lansford W. Levin as hearing officer from the North. Levin, I'm sorry, I mispronounced it.
There's a motion on the floor for Lansford Levitt as a hearing officer in the North. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Reed and seconded by Commissioner Bruce that the board approve the reappointment of Lansford Levitt as a hearing officer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Levitt, if he's still here. I don't see him, do I? Okay. Okay, we now have 4 officers in the North selected, so we will entertain at least 2 more motions for the North. Okay. Okay, I guess I could go to the south and then come back to the north. Does that work for the commissioners?
Yeah, that's
That would
fine.
be fine with me.
Okay, Mr. Bruce is indicating his concurrence with that. So I will now entertain a motion for consideration of hearing officers in the south.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mulgrew and I would like to recommend Paul Lamboli for a hearing officer in the south.
Okay, so I'm hearing a motion by Commissioner Sanchez and a second by Commissioner Mager for Paul Lamboli as a hearing officer for the south. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. I think that, is there any nays? I hear no nays, so that's approval of Paul Lamboli as a hearing officer for the South. Congratulations, Mr. Lamboli. Okay, continuing in the South.
Madam Chair, we would like to recommend Mr. Jeffrey Allen as a hearing officer in the south.
Okay, I'm hearing a motion by Commissioner Sanchez with a second by Commissioner Mager for Jeffrey Allen to be a hearing officer for the state of Nevada in the south. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
There's 4 yeas and 1 nay on Jeffrey Allen. That motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Allen. Continuing in the south,
Madam Chair, we would like to recommend Mr. Daniel Hussey as a hearing officer for the south.
okay, I'm hearing a motion from Commissioner Sanchez and a second by Commissioner Mager for Daniel Hussey to be a hearing officer for the south. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
There's 4 yeas and 1 nay. I'm the nay, so that motion passes. Okay, continuing on, I'll entertain a motion for the south.
Madam Chair, we would like to recommend Mr. Gary Pulliam as a hearing officer for the south.
There's a motion by Commissioner Sanchez with a second by Commissioner Mager for Gary Pulliam to continue or be reappointed as a hearing officer for the south. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, is there a further motion from the south for hearing officers?
There is. We would like to recommend Mr. Richard Reed as a hearing officer for the south.
It's been moved by Commissioner Sanchez and seconded by Commissioner Mager that the commission approve the reappointment, I believe, of Mr. Reed as a hearing officer for the south. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Reed. Is there yet another motion from the south?
There is. We would like to recommend Ann Winter as a hearing officer for the south.
There's a motion by Commissioner Sanchez with a second by Commissioner Mager that the commission approve the reappointment of Ms. Elworth Winter as a hearing officer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Elworth Winter. Okay, we now have 6 hearing officers in the south.
I only have 5.
I have, here's who I have, correct me if I'm wrong. Lamboli, Allen, Hussey, Pulliam, Reed, and Elworth Winter.
Thank you. I'm correct.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bruce. I show that we have approved 4 hearing officers in the north. So I will entertain a motion for 2 additional hearing officers in the north.
Madam Chair, I would recommend Jill Rainier, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
There's a motion on the floor from Commissioner Bruce for the consideration of Ms. Grenier to be a hearing officer in the north.
I'll second
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Bruce and seconded by Commissioner Reed that the commission approve Ms. Jill Grainer as a hearing officer in the north. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion passes. So, we still have one additional hearing officer candidate for consideration in the north. If there's yet another motion, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to see if there's a second. I will make a motion that the commission consider William Kockenmeister to continue as a hearing officer in the north.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that the commission reappoint William Kockenmeister as a hearing officer in the north.
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, there's 3 ayes, nays,
Nay.
and 2 nays from the south. That motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Kockenmeister. Okay, so I show that we have 6 officers in the north and 6 in the south.